Welcome to the Spirits Operator podcast. I'm your host, Mary B. Here we navigate the ethereal currents between the mystical and the mundane. Join us as we embark on a journey to unravel the mysteries of healing, metaphysics, and the extraordinary, guiding you through a realm where spirituality meets everyday life. Get ready to explore the unseen forces that shape our world and discover how to harness their power for personal growth and transformation. Welcome aboard, fellow travelers, as we embark on this captivating adventure together. In this series, The Many Waves of Healing, we delve into both the mystical and the practical aspects of personal transformation. Today, we're joined by a truly enlightening guest, Jessica. Originally hailing from the sunny landscapes of Southern California and now residing in the beautiful shores of Pensacola, Florida, Jessica is not only a nurturing mother, but also a devoted practitioner and guide in the realms of energy and wellness. With her expertise as a Holy Fire 3 Reiki master, nutrition consultant, and facilitator of transformative practices like quantum healing hypnosis sessions and higher self coaching, she helps individuals activate their inner healing powers and expand their personal light. Hello, and welcome, Jessica, today.
Thanks, Mary. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Oh my goodness. So I want to tell our listeners where or how we met. So you're in Pensacola and I'm in Navarre, which is, like about 30, 40 minutes apart. And I was looking for a QHHT practitioner because I had done a couple of sessions previously and the gal that I had done them with wasn't doing them anymore. So I was like, okay, I got to find somebody. So I went on to the official website and there was one person and that was you.
You just hope for the best at that point.
No, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I got to call this person. So, okay, now here comes your part in it. Like, when I call you, what did you think of all this madness that I was bringing?
I was excited, actually, because I was like, oh, okay, somebody like who's pretty darn wide open with just read Dolores's books and has really applied them to her life and also does her own magical pursuits, talks with spirit, and I think at that time, it was kind of like that fluctuation of like, for in your experience too with spirit, and it was like we all kind of go through that, right? Like where we're like,
yeah, what
am I doing here? Like, what is this relationship? Right. And it's cool because then when you come back to it, now tangent, but like when we come back to it, it's like, wow, that was so necessary. Like anyway.
Yeah, it's been a couple years, right? So we met each other a couple years ago, and we've had fluctuating contact, as we do, because we're both parents and stuff. So we're going to have life that kind of gets in between. But these things that we come to, we've learned so much through our sessions. I've learned a ton about, myself. From the first session of learning past connections to my husband, that was really profound. And I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And then going this last session, I just said, you know what? There's more information and I want you to just interview me. Like, I need you to it doesn't matter about past life stuff right now. Because I think we're past the past life stuff for me anyway.
Like at this time, right? Like there's other places to go.
Right. So we can dive in. And so with this quantum leap, this quantum hypnosis that you do, it's not limited. And that's the thing that they're seeing it linear, right? So they're seeing it as past life. Well, obviously you can go into times within the present life. You can go into future information. You can go into eons in the past, eons in the future, and just kind of see and connect to beings that don't have a time. And so that's where we kind of went this last time. So that was very interesting. And now tell me your perspective from it. Because I go into that whole sleeping speaker mode where I don't remember a lot of what is said other than I recorded it. Thank God.
Right. For me, I'm sitting there like, you can, as the practitioner, I can see the shift because we had so many other friends come in and talk, right? Like, so many um, beings came through, and they were like, okay, it's my turn. I'm going to answer this question. And it was just these profound energies that came through. And I could see the shift in your face, like expression, and like even like a subtle movement in your body. And I could see, oh, we're talking to somebody else. And the new voice comes through because, and people that get in that sleeper state like you, where they're really just kind of, their ego's outside as a real silent observer, those shifts are really cool. That's where like certain accents come in, certain voices come in, and we had so many throughout that session, and I got to sit there and talk to them like they're just in the room, like they're physical beings
So
in the
cool.
room. And it's so fascinating. And yeah, I want to sit there and ask a million questions to these beings, but quite honestly, like you only get allotted so much time.
Right.
So the cool thing is I've learned we can always then ask for them to come back. So
Okay.
what I learned from that session and started using immediately, and I learned this a lot with through my clients, is I'll learn, oh, there's the healer in our body. I mean, well, duh. How did we not talk to the healer in our body before? Like, we know we can heal. Of course it's the healer in our body. So I started talking to the healer in my body and started
Yes.
using that information right after the session. I think it was like 2 days later. I was feeling a little off and I was like, oh, okay, I got to call in the healer in my body. And they're right there. Like, you can call them
Yes.
right back in. So whoever I meet, I trust, like, oh, I can call back on them. And they usually come back like right away. Hey,
How
Jessica.
interesting.
Yeah. So, unless it's like your guide, I'm like, but if it's just the healer in my body, I can call them up. Um, the thing that I found was really fascinating is when there's like a chuckle, like the we talk about linear time. We like brought that linear time up in this like just a few minutes ago, and whenever we humans ask about linear time, okay, so when is this going to happen? When is this big earth change going to happen? Like when we're talking about the change in the earth in your session, and there's the chuckle of however many are sitting there listening to us and like participating in this conversation, and you're like, yeah, there's some laughter back here right now, and like I could feel it from them.
They're like, oh,
Through
silly,
you.
silly. Yes, I was re-listening to the session because I had to get refreshed because it does go out of my brain so easily. I mean, to the point where like it's gone. That blows me away. That just tells me that it wasn't from me, that it was through me, and I have to go listen to it again. you know?
Okay. The paint on the, like, okay, so we were talking to the color. Like, I want the listeners to know, like, we were talking to a color. This color came through so joyfully. And then, like, I'm looking at colors in my house. Like, I want to talk to the green couch and the red cabinet and the off-white walls. Like, everything, it just has a new perspective after that. But it was the most
Yeah.
joyful energy. And oh gosh, I just loved that aspect of the conversation.
It was interesting and revisiting that and listening to how they were talking about the color of the heart of the people right
Yeah.
now is brown. And brown is just a bunch of colors all together, right? Kind of mixed in when you mix colors, you bring them all together and it gets kind of muddy, right? So that's what we're looking at is our current heart centeredness is
Mhm.
muddy with some green tinge to it. And so they're working on facilitating this orchestra of color to bring through to heal the earth's heart. So I will be taking, just so you all know, we are going to take little bits of this session that I had and put that in the end of this podcast so that you can kind of hear for yourself the differences in these entities as they speak, these energies. And it's very interesting. And for those that aren't familiar, there's a panic that people seem to have, right? When they think about something speaking through them. And so, I would say that most people would be comfortable talking about their past self in a past life coming through them, and that's their comfort zone. I will say, it is my comfort zone to allow people to speak through me because that's what I do anyway, right? And I've kind of built up to this. I feel like now I'm building up to, okay, well, let's just be this channel. And you always, protect, and that's the thing, is you've got to set that intention, right? And so you help set that intention as a practitioner to keep your what would you call us? Sleeper?
Yes, the subject. Yeah,
The subject. Okay.
no sense it's the subject, but like in your case, it's the sleeper.
I'm like, I'm the sleeper, yeah. but to keep us safe, there is a procedure that is always done, and that's because there, as we talked about, energies that influence,
Mhm.
you're covered that way. So if you're comfortable, you know.
Right, and I love that about QHHT is it's just so tried and true, and it's solid. So you come back from out of that trance state as you, and it's just
Yes.
a higher version of yourself each time, a higher expression of yourself each time. And I would say, and I don't know, it would be nice to get your experience on this, but when you listen to it, do you also feel that
Mm.
expression?
So I feel like all of a sudden I'll hear the difference in the tone,
Yep.
and I'll get that feeling of, ooh, what was that? Get the chill again. And I have also called upon the healer to come back and kind of help rework some things in my body as I'm feeling pain, maybe in my leg or whatever. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Can you help me out with this? And that's a pretty profound thing. And honestly, that's the one that's, like you, kind of stuck the most, which is interesting considering the very expansive questions we had. We're so human.
Really, I know, but then I really learned to embrace my human, and like
Yes,
that's what we're here for.
that's
Why did I
right.
incarnate as a human? To have that experience. And why did I do
Yep.
it over and over? Well, I guess this experience is pretty profound for me. So where maybe in previous years, like when I was like really getting into my spirituality, um, maybe about 10 years ago, I was like, what is up with us humans? And I found us to be very kind of annoying and maybe like
Polarizing.
leeches on the earth and things like that. And now I have a completely different perspective of the
Mm-hmm.
human experience. And I really embrace it for the light, for the those in your session, the tile pieces. There was a reference to the little bugs like us, the bugs within our bodies, everything, like all the microorganisms that make up the macroorganisms. They were like tile pieces. And we have light, we have dark, and they just are. They just are a part of the experience, and they help move things along. So
Yes.
um,
Each one influencing the other.
they're just influencing each other, and they change the space we're in so that things can move. It's not necessarily like, oh, the person who comes into the coffee shop and shouts and causes a commotion. for that temporary time has just ruined the coffee shop forever. No,
Mm-hmm.
it changed things up. It's not bad. Like the coffee shop's not cursed now. It's a great coffee shop. There's this thing that happened. Who knows? Yeah,
Yes. And
like
then we change from it. Those people are influenced by it and however that happened. And so we're referring to this coffee shop as the coffee shop analogy that was done in the session. And that is definitely one of the things I will play at the end because I found that it was very clear about good versus evil. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And that was something that we tend to focus on here as humans. This you're bad, you're good, you know, and we'll label this and label that. And so it's very interesting how that comes across. Now, have you had other sessions or experiences similar to this one? Have you been able to tap into those energies in different ways before, or where you feel like you recognize someone?
so there are particular energies that sometimes come through that seem very like they come from familiarity with another session.
Mm-hmm.
And some are the ancient speakers, some are ETs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've had several clients who are Pleiadian connected, and at least I'm aware that we're all kinds of things. So, what
Right.
comes through for them at that time and what's right for them to connect with at that time of that session are their Pleiadian side, that aspect of themselves. So, or their Pleiadian family. And so I've had those Pleiadians come through, and I can feel that energy come through now. It's familiar when it comes to
Mm.
person, and I can get that jovial, like wise, but like kind of it's like a fun character. Like the characteristics is playful in a way.
Yeah. So, as an intuitive yourself, you feel that same energy that when it comes in, it's familiar. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, I know you.
Yes, yes. It's amazing when those come in. Um, I've had other sessions where we've had someone's in the middle of a past life, but then the Greys come in. Oh,
Oh,
the Greys are here.
interesting.
Oh, okay. They'll have a message, and then oh, they're gone. Okay, back to the past life.
It's
You
like,
feel
please
that
pause. We
energy
have a
shift.
message.
Yes. And I can't
Yes.
remember what the message was. That session was several years ago, and but it was just this funny moment of, oh, there's a shift in energy here. Oh, okay, it's the Grays, and then they take off after the message is delivered, and um, things like that will pop in every now and then. I've had in my internship, I had a very interesting session where the client was the green in creation. And
Oh,
we got to see how that green traveled with him. And green, obviously the green in the heart is like another funny thing, like because we talked with green
the
in
color.
your session. And so I had my friend who decided like, hey, I'll do a session with you in your internship, was the green. Nothing was going on until another color popped up, and then another color popped up, and things started to create. And then I got to travel with him through a couple instances of, hey, you were a person in Japan, and you had the green help you with, or like he was like an herbal healer
Ah,
at that time, and the green helped him there. Then he was like on a ship, and like the would stop in like different areas of the world. This is a completely different life, and hey, the green was with you there and helping guide you, and you could tap into it in that life. So the green is what it was called in that session, was with him through every life. And
interesting.
yeah, and we only got to see a few, but the indication was like it stays with you.
The green is all around you.
Yeah. Agree.
It's like the purple. And we were talking to the
Oh,
energy that you would call purple, and they were like, "Well, it's a language. It is an energy. It's a frequency, but you can talk to it as a language, and that's everywhere. And that's more of a cosmos connection, is what they said, right?
yes,
And they
cosmos.
then they were talking about how the green is a human thing. And so that's really interesting that it ties back for you, kind of connecting some dots,
To one of the first sessions I did.
which was years back, right?
Yes, it was 2020.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, quite a bit
So
back.
yeah, a ways back. And it's fun to see because I do think of that session every now and then, and some sessions just kind of stand out and they pop into your mind every now and then, and you just think, oh, that was really interesting. And so 2024, we come back around to the green in another session with another human. It's really amazing.
It
And I
really
think
is.
Dolores saw that a lot in her practice, where she'd get spoon fed something, some piece of information. And then when the time was right, more was added to that. And
Yes, and that's why she had all those, tons and tons of recordings that she didn't put together until, years later, where all of the little breadcrumbs came together and you have a loaf, I mean, are you writing these things down? Are you making loaves?
yes, yes, yes. And a lot of times I want to like transcribe every session just because I think like there was at least a valuable nugget of information in every session.
Yes, that's true.
Even
That's
the
so true.
sessions where people think I wasn't under enough. I didn't I didn't really go somewhere. Like you're watching them and you're like, yes, you did. Like you did. And valuable information came through. Like I can see it, I can hear it from them. That conscious mind, it gets strong, but
Yeah.
uh, I do have my little breadcrumbs. Like they're in some they're creating what the dough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're creating it.
we're molding it.
Good, good. Well, I'm glad that you're taking note of that, because I think that you're going to continue to gather, these little nuggets of breadcrumbs and create something that's pretty special there when you're ready. So adding in your own experiences and your own processes to the whole thing, this whole group of information. So we I have been fortunate enough to also connect with you in other ways, and watched you be a healer in my mind's eye, doing your work. And I think, we're not going to give details about this because, this is somebody else's information, but there was a point in time where there was some healing needed to someone who was ill. And we went astrally because, when you're able to kind of take charge of where you are in a spiritual way, and I say through meditations you kind of learn how to do that, and become quieted to be able to go into that state of astral space while awake. Then you take that energy that is the purest of you and go somewhere with it intentionally. And so we did this to kind of work and help someone heal. And I walked into the room, and there you were, and you were holding your hands over this person, and there was green, oddly enough. The green was coming from your hands, and it was going into this person's body, and I was like, oh, Jessica's here already. I was like, oh, hey. And we're in this hospital setting, and then there's one of their family members that was passed on was standing over them watching you do the work, and that family member was kind of like, yep, good job, just monitoring, making sure you were doing well with the person that was there. And I'm just like, okay, okay, so we're just going to listen, listening to all the stuff around us, and bringing in these healer type energies, and while using yourself as um, energy portal, to bring that through to the human who was there. So, like, that was pretty cool, Jessica. So I'm going to say, like, watching you do that work, I would say that your Reiki training probably comes into that quite a bit, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And it was so cool to see like you and you say, "Hey, you're there." And so here we are together and I could feel the presence over my shoulder, but I didn't know who it was and you're there to witness who it is and we're just like all connecting on this level that was just so like it brings that energy into our own physical space. Like I could feel it in my physical space because it was just
Mm-hmm.
so beautiful and so profound and so healing, I think, for all of us there. And
Yes.
yes, the Reiki training does come in handy. And Reiki is where I really learned my first like training on boundaries energetically
Mm.
and protection because I was that wide open empath that just felt everyone's stuff and thought it was mine. It was like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel crazy all the time. I
You're
may
like,
look
why am I
calm.
so mood swingy?
Yes, I may look calm on the outside, but that's like my earth sign self. And, but yeah, I definitely had to learn the hard way through dreams, through traveling actually when you don't even know that you're doing it, and like just in
Mm-hmm.
our physical space. So, yes, learning that protection and then learning the healing aspect. And Reiki is such an amazing gateway for that because from there, and I've talked to other Reiki practitioners who've had similar things come up for them where they realize, like, wow, that really got me in touch with my inner healing abilities. It
Mm-hmm.
opened me up and made me more sensitive to that aspect of me. So every Reiki practitioner has like other elements that they have incorporated into their practice, whether they tell you or not. Each person
Mm-hmm.
has this beautiful, different sense of healing, and yeah, for me, there's a lot of color that comes through. And it's so funny because once you start doing it, you're like, oh, I think I've been doing this for a long time.
Yep.
And
You just didn't have a label on it, right?
not at all. No. And so going there and traveling to that room in the hospital with you was also like this confirmation like, oh, someone else sees it too. That is pretty fascinating. It's so cool that you have that, like, you have that ability to see it. Um,
Yeah.
so yes, for me, it's just I love Reiki and I love the proper intention and protection of a space because so much profound healing comes from that. And it protected that hospital space. It protected our physical homes or wherever it was that we were traveling
Working
from.
from.
Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness. It's amazing how that time and space really, you just, it vanishes when
It
you're working.
does. It does. And it's that intention, I feel like everything with the intention behind it is magnified, right? So if we're thinking about the Reiki itself, which is the energy, and knowing that that energy, we've already made a agreement with that energy that it is pure, and when we think of it, that it shall be that. And so it just is. And
Yes.
yeah. And so people ask me, well, how do you consider yourself, a an armored empath? Because unlike where you're saying you weren't sure what feelings were yours and all of that, I
Hmm.
didn't have that. It was mine were more connecting to those who have passed on. So every feeling that I ever got of intensity was from the things you couldn't see. Like, not the people, because you couldn't see people's emotions mostly, but out and
Yeah.
about, and couldn't identify that. But this comes from those subtle energies that are even more quieted down.
Oh yeah.
So trying to figure out what that was and why there was emotion behind that. So now setting the intentions, now not being a practitioner of Reiki myself, but knowing that that energy is free for all of us to use, that I know I've got that protection from that space regardless. And so you're taking it to another level where you're making a relationship with the Reiki energy. And so now you started out with Reiki, right? And then you kind of went into other things. So what
Yes.
came after that?
So I was doing nutrition, and I do find plants, food, even even for those who eat meat, like there is a frequency to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we are tuning into a frequency. And that's why diets are not a one size fit all for
Mm-hmm.
everyone. Everyone's dietary needs are different. Their water intake is different. There's a range of how much water you should drink per day, not a standardized 10 cups for everybody. Like, it's
Yeah.
a range. And the kind of herbs, spices, all of that has a frequency. And so this is pretty cool. When I started working with people nutritionally, um, I could see that the common ground was to eat as clean as possible, as from the earth as possible. And massive changes happen for people. And then getting Reiki involved,
Mm-hmm.
then I started to realize I could feel the frequency off of the food. And
Ah,
oh, okay. So, okay, let's just feel it and see, kind of connect with that. And I could connect with it for myself. And I loved playing in this way. I just like to play around and see, like, what do things feel like? What's this like? What should I eat this? And, I could kind of
I
tune
love
into
that
my
about
body.
you.
And I could also do it for my clients. Like, would this be, because you
Ah.
don't need that time and space, I could be talking with them over the phone. Okay, for Sarah, or let's use Sarah's example. Sarah is struggling with digestive issues. Okay, so we can kind of go through some dietary needs using Reiki and using
Mm.
energy to kind of feel into what Sarah's energy and physical body need. So there's a lot of aspects to the, not just what comes from the earth physically, but like also then taking Reiki and coupling, starting to just really bring all the modalities together. And
Yes.
the common ground with that is play, just like in QHHT and just like in art, like the astral work. And so you have to be willing to play and
Yes.
use your imagination. It opens up everything so that we can then heal and expand.
Yes. And you're taking off all those limitations because when
Yes.
you play, you're releasing that expectation and just kind of bringing in the joy of experiencing whatever it is you're doing, right?
Yes. Yes. And play is one of my, like, when I'm giving preparation work for a QHHT session, play it, like play games with your kids, play even a sport, like, getting connected with play is just the easiest, most accessible, like, prerequisite that people will do, because not everyone is ready to sit down and meditate and be quiet with
Yes,
themselves.
that is true. They get quiet and they start thinking about things that they are concerned about, which, we're going to do because if
Yes,
we haven't
yes,
addressed it, it's going to come up.
yes, of course. Me too, right? Like, I understand
Yes.
that.
Yes. 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 So, okay. So you've brought your nutrition and then you're adding in Reiki, you're realizing there's no limitations, that you can do this from anywhere. And then you're like, oh, inspired by something to get you into QHHT, because QHHT is that another removal of limitation. And so what brought you to that point?
Okay. So I had heard about Dolores, um, like around the time that I was learning Reiki. Um, gosh, it's been like 8+ years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was always interested in past lives. My grandmother and my mom always talked about paranormal activity, reincarnation without calling it reincarnation. So let me back up just a little bit because I think this started in my childhood.
Okay.
Just the seed was planted.
Yes.
And uh, my mother, when she was 5, her 3-year-old sister drowned in the pool in their backyard. She was life flighted to a hospital and she passed there. And her name was Terry. She was so she was 3. And my grandparents, I mean, it was the time when they didn't have gates around the pools and all that protection. And there was a reason why all that protection came with
Yeah.
gates around pools at homes and things like that. Because instances like these happened. And it was, my grandma said, the hardest thing that she's ever gone through is losing a child.
Of
And
course.
like oh no, don't even want to imagine what she went through.
No.
But um, my grandmother was always kind of curious and she would just observe. And I learned this later, is she would observe when I was the oldest of 3 girls. When my sisters and I were born, she would kind of observe to see if any of Terry's characteristics were coming through, either any of us. And interestingly enough, my youngest sister, she was maybe 3 at the time, around the same age that Terry was when she passed. And my grandma was over at our house and we were all looking through photo albums, family photo albums. And my sister points at a girl and says, I remember when I was her.
What?
And my mom, my grandma, the room stops. What? And she
Really?
says, I remember when I was her. And she insisted she was her. And it was my
Wow.
mom's little sister, Terry. And so my mom and my grandma, like everyone got goosebumps. And I wasn't really aware of what was going on at the time. I was like a little bit older. And yeah, my mom talked to my sister that night, who insisted, Mom, like that was me. And so my mom, my grandma just kind of like smiled and like thought, wow, that was pretty amazing. Like there's
That
an answer
is.
after all these years. And so my sister doesn't remember saying that, but she believes it. She totally believes it. Like my family's pretty open to this aspect of life. So it started then, where I just believed like, wow, there's things in the past. And when I learned about ancient Egypt and even like ancient Greece in the 5th grade, I was like, oh, that seems familiar to me. What? I
Ah.
love these. I love this part of history. Holy cow. And then years later, I did, when I think it was before my Reiki training, I did a past life regression meditation.
Ah.
And I was in Egypt. I just popped in. I didn't really understand how to like navigate these, like, when you popped into these like past lives, I didn't know how to navigate it. I just kind of like sat there and was like, I
Looking around.
feel lonely. I feel like a man. Oh, I'm a man. And
Yes, it's weird when you're navigating yourself through these, right? Because I've
yeah,
done that. I've done that, and I've only been successful a couple of times. Um, and it was very, very interesting. Kind of, I'm an observer of myself. How strange.
yes, yes. And I just knew, I was like, that's me. Wow, I really feel like I'm this man. But it was so static because I didn't know how to navigate it. And it was like a quick meditation. It was like a guided meditation I listened to on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. So um, I then, shortly after that's when I heard about Dolores. And I just listened to her talks. And I thought, gosh, this is really cool. Like, and I thought the hypnosis was really cool and, very interesting. I was very intrigued by all of that. And 2020 is when I realized, oh, I can take this training with QHHT and not have to travel somewhere in the world, especially with a child, like a small child. That was going to be challenging for me. Especially like the relationship I had with my son. I was like, we're going to do everything together.
Yes.
Tell you don't want
You're
to do
my
everything,
buddy.
Mom.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I'm gonna say do that because at some point I'm in that mode right now where I'm like, hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I know it. I know. I know at some point moms go through that, and it's good for that. It's good for everyone. It's just a big change. But yeah, he kind of got to be with me through that training. And anytime that I touch base with Reiki too, and I go back to the Juliana Davis in LA, the woman I learned from, when I would touch base with her and do any kind of upgrades, he'd get to be there. And I really
Oh,
get to see that he he understands this stuff. He understands all of it. And
uh-huh.
that as he's getting closer to 6 years old, he speaks the language. And when an animal needs some healing, he knows how to tune in. He's like, I can talk to the cat, and now I can cut the cord and not talk to the cat. And I'm like, okay, you've been paying attention. It's pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing. I wish I had some of these tools when my kids were little to be able to do that. And of course, there was some of that applied, but it was in a different way. Because
Yes.
my kids were dealing with other things than that. But we do the best with what we have, right?
Right. And I'm sure in 10 years from now, we're going to be talking to some newer moms who have even more fascinating stories because they have more
Yes.
tools and they have more expansion. There's more awareness. Like it's, I can't
This is
even
that flow,
imagine.
right? This is
Yes,
that going with the flow that that was
it
in
is.
in our session was go with the flow and don't get in the way of the flow.
Yes, which I think is so important. I actually I really hope that people get a chance to listen to a lot of this session because I think that it really has a lot of really valuable pieces of information for those who are ready to hear it. Just like
Yes.
we're told, share it with those who are ready to hear it because otherwise they don't need to hear it. They're not ready. And
Right.
it will have value, I think, for those who are ready to hear it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So you got into QHHT, you are flexible with that, and then you ended up moving here in 2020 as well, right? So
2021, October
2021.
2021. It's
Okay.
been a couple years here. Oh,
Oh, it's exciting.
it is. It's such a different it's such a different experience because I was used to I think the biggest thing was the environments. Like in Southern California, there is desert. There's some serious dry desert land.
Yes.
There's the ocean, there's mountains, there's snow, and you can go within 1 to 2 hours to everything. Like you could do it all in one day, pretty much,
Yes.
in one long day. And so over here, and I always was very interested in the rainforest. And as a kid, at some point, I thought, I think it was like middle school. I don't know. It's like kind of young, but you're in your enterprising stage and you're like, I am going to buy lots in the rainforest so that nobody can touch them. And we'll just save them. And so I'd never been to a rainforest. And so Pensacola is a rainforest. And it's
Yeah,
also by the ocean, which is gorgeous, a completely different looking ocean.
very
And
much.
yes, so there was like a lot of new land to tune into. And there's a lot of aspects when I go back out west and I visit, like I do cry, I think every time. So I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. But then I come back here and it's so beautiful in different ways. And there is an energy into both places that has really enriched my life. And since coming here, I've also got to meet several people who I connected with. You don't know when you're coming to, and I'm just going to be honest, like to the Bible Belt. Like, is there going to be
Hmm.
somebody who understands what I do? And I just trusted. I was like, yes, they're everywhere. And I
Yes.
know with QHHT, people will find each other. We'll find each other.
That's
Like
right.
this QHHT's really allowed me to like trust, just trust. Like if you believe it, it will happen. If you just let your guard down and be in that limitless space.
Well, yeah, and
So
I had contacted you, I think, when you first moved here. Like
yeah,
you just showed up because I got that feeling of, oh, you need to look that person up because just this strong sense of there's a message that's got to come through, and I don't know what it is, and I need to talk to this person, whoever they are. I didn't even know, at the time, and then you happen to be the only one, that came up at that moment, and I was like, okay, okay, this is, well, and I reach out to you and you're like, yes. And we sat and talked. I remember I was sitting in my car talking to you, and
you're taking your son somewhere and we're chatting and like, yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm so grateful. Like here's that person I was talking about. Like I just trusted.
right. Right. And that's how that all kind of circles in, is like, oh, there's, now granted, you just keep opening yourself up to those energies that are resonating with you. So for those that are out there, like if they feel alone, they're not, like, you've got to be able to go, hey, I'm allowing those people that are like me to find me, and
Mm-hmm.
to be brave enough to be you out there, whatever version of that is, whatever, wherever you are in your path. Because even in the Bible Belt, there's plenty of us that
Yes.
I would say are on the same frequency. So, and I'm not separating the two as in, this person's better than this person or such and such. It's just
No, not at
where
all.
we are with our energy, where we want to be with our connection to the plan, the process, and allowing those people to be who they are, and respecting those boundaries of where they are, and hoping for the same. you know
Right. Right. And I mean, I grew up in a non-religious household, but my mom and my grandma were Presbyterians. Like, and that's how my mother grew up, and her and my dad decided not to bring us up with religion. They said, you get to choose, which sometimes I was like, I'm
what do
supposed
I
to be a
do?
religion because everyone else was. And I'm like, I'm just going to say I'm Christian then. And then I'm like, maybe
Yeah,
I'm Catholic. I had no clue. I just wanted like that spiritual connection. Okay.
me too, me too. And it's funny, it leads us to this place where that is within you, right? And
Yes.
that's where the home is.
I feel like my parents somehow intuitively knew that without having any kind of phrasing or terminology for it.
Right.
And I chose them, right? Like we all
Yeah.
knew we were going to have this life together. Must have known in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I think when I say like the Bible Belt, it's just I came from a place where there were a lot of different religions, and I had
Mm-hmm.
friends who were Christian, who were Jewish, who were Hindu, who were Buddhist, and it was just who were Muslim. Like I had close people very close to me in all sorts of religions, and we were all close with each other. And so
Yes.
coming here, it was and this may be like stupid and ignorant of me, but like I just only really knew of what I had heard. And that's
Yeah,
that
it's
like it's
intimidating.
mostly just Christian, and it was a little intimidating like to think about, but you just go with trust. And like quite frankly, I have very religious like friends in this area of the United States, and it's cool. We allow each other to be ourselves, and I think that's very important in the unification of the world.
Yes, yes, because those stepping stones of wherever they are is where they are, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how they find their path too. So, but going back to our session as well, is that we are one, and
Yeah,
that we're all experiencing all of these things all at once, so that is the greater experience. So, oh my goodness.
I
Okay.
know.
I love it. Well,
Brings up
Jessica,
emotion. It's so it
I know.
does.
So, do you have any parting words for anybody who's like looking to find themselves through some of these processes, similar to how the path you took or ideas? Do you have any inspiration for them?
There is no one way. There are infinite ways. We are humans. There's so many humans and so an infinite way to do things. So start with what speaks to you. With what spoke to me was food. Food spoke to me, and that opened me up. And it's just go with it, because and you don't have to find the meaning in it at the moment. Just start,
Yeah.
because it unfolds. And like the green, I didn't know. And Mary, let me tell you real quick. I saw, when I was in bed with my mom, when I was 2 or 3, I have very early memories that I remember very early
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I saw green coming from the bathroom in the master bedroom, and a little like portal, it like coming towards me. And I was like, what is this? And I woke my mom up, and it was gone. But there
Huh.
was the green. It just dawned
Maybe the
on me.
green's with you too.
I think we all have the green, right? I'm just like, but I just dawned on me that I have this memory that I've spoken about all of my life. It comes up every now and then, but I just connected the dots right here, right now. So,
Nice.
right. So I feel like you may not know why you're going in a certain direction, but if it is something that brings you happiness, brings you joy, and it feels aligned, go with it, and you can watch it unfold. Like that, the linear time as a human is a really cool marker, because then you can say, like, months down the road, years down the road, so the dots connect. And the reason why you chose that avenue, that moment, to get started with whatever it is you got started with, it may connect years down the road.
Oh,
And
yes.
and listen to your heart. Like, listen to your heart. That is number one. For me, like, the gut will tell you when to stop, right? When something's not aligned. But the heart is going to tell you when you're in alignment. And
I love that.
um, have your journey, and don't
Okay.
judge it. Like, just go with it. Just go.
Just
Let the
play.
things go.
Just
Be
play.
playful. Yes. So we were all children for a reason. We get to play. Like, we get to tap into that every single day if you want to.
Oh, thank you. And that's awesome messages. Yes, I'll have to remember that. Always remember the play and always remember just going with it, where your heart aligns to. Now, Jessica, can you tell our listeners where they can contact you if they feel aligned with what it is that, you're offering, and how to connect with you?
Yes. So my name's Jessica Moore, my full name. You can find me at higherselfhealsyou.com in Pensacola. I also do virtual sessions, and I'm happy to do just a quick consultation to see. I really do think it's important, if you feel like you're kind of questioning things, to see that we are in proper alignment and we're a good match. It's no hard feelings if I'm not the person for you right now. So I'm happy to do like a consultation call with anybody.
Okay, and that's for your Reiki, and then um, you have your QHHT, which I believe is in person, but then you also do something else that is similar that can be done online too. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I do.
Okay.
I have learned that through the higher self, like, been taught, okay, you can do this. Kind of how Dolores was guided to QHHT, and she learned through the high self. And I think that other practitioners have kind of learned their like side modalities as well. I do offer a virtual, we could call it a past life regression, but people are going all over the place. It depends on where you
Yeah.
need to go at that time.
Which flight are we getting on?
Yep, yep. I love it. That's such, such a good.
Right. Well, thank you again for being here and sharing your light and your energy. And this has been a joy. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you for all that you do too. You're a beautiful light.
Thanks. Thank you for joining us during this series, The Many Waves of Healing. This last part here is going to be a recording that Jessica and I did when I was under hypnosis with QHHT. This is what we were referring to during our podcast interview. If you're having any trouble hearing this because it is kind of quiet, you can refer to my YouTube channel, Spirits Operator, and this is transcribed there for you. Also, get ready for our next series, which is going to be based on the empath. So that'll be coming up here in the month of July 2024. I'm really excited to share a ton of great information, and I have some really cool guests lined up. So make sure that you like and subscribe, and click the little bell on Spotify so that you get notified about new episodes that come in. Again, thank you so much for your support.
So are you in a body?
No.
Are you anything?
Yes.
What are you?
Part of the swirls of light.
What do the swirls of light mean?
Energetic imprints of all the souls. Individual sparkles. Infinite energy, infinite swirls. Light.
Where are the souls from?
Bright light.
Wow.
It's all the same, but separate at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. I'm curious if this light has a color to it.
Maybe a tinge of yellow,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very bright. If you look at the little sparkles within the light, it's like they look like crystals. Like the light hits them and they shine. They're very small. And as the bright light hits them, they all shine, and this is why everything is so bright.
Does the individual have a job to do? Does it do something? Job being a limiting word. Do they have a purpose?
Not yet. They come into being, whatever being is needed, of all things. Getting imagery of rocks and trees and plants and animals on countless planets, on countless star systems forever and ever and ever. Wherever they need to go. It's fluid.
So can it be all of those things?
Yes.
And then what happens when they're all together? When you're all together, I should say.
It's like it's breathing. It's always continuously alive. Never really separate. Just a painted tile on an ever-changing surface. A small picture is painted on the tile. Best description. And then the water washes off the tile and it gets a new picture and it moves into that new picture. But it's always connected to the brighter picture, the brighter energy of light.
Is there an opposite to that?
Not the way you think.
Okay. Can you explain that to me?
Yes. The opposite is within all things. As in, you talk about good and bad or duality or yin-yang.
Is that correct in this way, or is there more to it?
There's more to this. It's each little tile influences the other tiles, and then something comes in and makes changes to the tiles so that there'll be the balance you speak of. But this is for experience only. This isn't separate at all. It's supposed to be so that it can have many things happening at once. When you say good versus evil, it's not like this. It's just experiencing everything. No evil, no good. Just is. Being. Each thing is being. Which makes the whole.
How could that influence the health of, say, a person or a planet?
When each being is assigned in the space, the being goes to the place and it changes it. So the experiences become greater for the whole. when each being experiences something negative or positive or what have you, then all the beings experience the negative and the positive and what have you. So if there is too much of one, then one more tile is assigned to the space so that the other tiles will then be influenced by that to change and flow. Because the key here is the change and the flow. Everything has to be in movement, so those are assigned to each thing to make movement. Thing is a very limited word. Vocabulary does not allow for proper explanation.
I'm feeling like it's a much more expansive thing than what we can really describe.
Let me explain.
Okay, thank you.
Integrating thought pattern. Give example. You walk into a place where there are people. We'll call it a coffee shop. You walk into this coffee shop you know very well. You know all the people. You know all the workers. They're great. They're nice. You know this space. You know this energy. It's familiar. And someone comes in who is a street person. They're dirty. They smell bad. They come in. What happens to the energy in the space? It shifts, you see. It shifts in a negative way, and then there's gotta be a shift in a positive way. Now, what came from that is your choice. What choice do you have there? It delivers you with a balance, you see. One where you come, one where you go. Do you pay for their food? Do you let them go? Do they get kicked out? Then is everything different or the same? It's different. It stays different. The feeling's different, even if that entity is no longer in the space, as the energy has been influenced by such a stronger opposing force, you see. But it was necessary because there was an impact left, an impact of change, a thought process. Maybe someone stayed the same, but then there's more to it. You start questioning why you do such things. This is why everything needs to be altered. And there are those put in your path. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Take that coffee shop analogy onto an expansive level. Expand it into a city, a planet, a solar system. Expand it there and notice how each ball hits the other, which then moves the movement in a certain direction. See? Mm-hmm. We are all ping-ponging off of each other, influencing the direction. Do I make sense?
Yeah, and I could see how that's neither good nor bad.
Correct.
It just shifts the events.
Moves things around.
Okay.
It's to shake it up.
Yes, that helps paint the picture. So I'm curious if I'm talking to somebody different now.
Yes.
Okay. Are you from the same place?
No. We come from the mind. It's not that we meet in a place. We meet in a mind. Best description. We meet in a telepathic space. That's not where form would live. So you're from Mars, and I'm from Earth, and then Venus, and we're giving you your small space. You understand? And then we come together in the blackness of the middle in our minds. But we've never left that space, you see. But I'm not from those places. Would I just give you the analogy of such things?
Do we call you anything?
No.
How often do we even get to speak with you in this capacity, where we're aware of each other?
Well, the other one you were speaking to was struggling with speaking, understanding your humans. And I don't often come into this space. It's very heavy. So you'll find that I am not one that we speak too much. You understand?
Mm-hmm. But you're assisting right now. That's
It's
great.
because I'm here.
Yeah.
I know the Earth people. Very complicated people.
I'm curious what you think of the human body that you're speaking through right now. What's that like?
It's like a rock.
I see. I would imagine that we are like that. So are you with humans from time to time and other beings from time to time? How's this work?
It's like I watch through a scope, or Earth is... I'm in your head right now, you see. I feel the energy of the body, but I am not here. Speak through the lines of the connection in the brain to the mouth and the body, but it's not that I am here. That energy feels heavy to me from there in a telepathic way, but I am home, not anywhere near you.
So I'm assuming that you don't normally communicate like this through a mouth and...
No, this is the way that was needed at this time, because we needed some explanation.
So did we. Thank you for that very much. Where did you just come from? It's here.
Is this thing on?
Yep. You're working. I can hear you.
They were right. This is weird.
Yeah. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with now?
I am what you would call a color.
That's fascinating.
Yes, the energy of that color is the name that comes. It's like a purple pink. It's the best name for me.
You have such a lightness about you.
As I am a color, is what you call it.
And you bring some joy with you.
This is funny. You see, we were gathering and we were talking in our energy way, and you should talk to the human. I said, what? Okay, so human, what do you want to know?
So, I want to know, the first thing that comes to my mind is very human. When we paint your color on our wall, do you come through in this joyful way like you are right now?
Your eyes interpret something different than what actually is.
Okay.
So, you can say that that feeling may be given to you, but it is not the same as what actually is. It's a variation, a very small piece. And so you may feel it that way as that's how you perceive it to be. Do you understand? There is an emotional energy behind that color.
How would you describe yourself emotionally?
Fresh air. Yes, I don't breathe, but that's what I would say.
Okay. That helps a human understand.
Yeah.
And what do you do as a color?
More of an energetic director. I direct energies.
Explain that to me.
So, in this space where we meet as a group of many, as if they would call it a council, so to speak, in this space I help move the energy around like a composer. See, I'm using the words of this and this.
Mm-hmm. The human you're
Yes, yes. Using the words of this human, I am a composer. And then the music, the sound, is the light, is the color. And we move it through so that it can be heard in many directions. So many can hear it all at once from wherever they come from. In whatever energy body they are presenting themselves, they have to be able to hear the tune or see it, and I move it through them so they understand. Translation?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Vibrational translation.
Maybe you can help us understand something then. So, we've been having some discussion about colors in places we've been going astrally. Like purples, greens in particular have been coming up. Can you tell us what that means?
Purples are in many, many places. It's like purples are the colors of the cosmos, where this remembering the light, the connection from the light. Purple is a language that is spoken on many levels. In many places, it equates to a language because it's an energy. So purple is a language of many, many places.
So this human has a number that seems like a coordinate. Can you tell us what the purple means there?
This is a green space.
Okay. Can you speak to that?
Yes.
We're trying to understand.
This is from the pain in the hearts of the people. This number is green. It's located in the hearts, the green space. This number is here. It's not anywhere else. It's here too. It's a door to the heart space of the people. They struggle. It hurts the heart. It's dense.
The heart's dense.
Yes. It's so if you look at your whole people and you merge them into one earth being, just one, the heart would be brown.
Okay.
With then a tinge of green around it. And if you take all the humans and put them in one, this heart hurts as it wants to be a green space, but it is brown in the middle and green on the outside. So it's like we bring in this energy to this space, this location, this space of the one human that is, so that it can filter out the brown.
But does it affect the human in any
It affects all the humans. Oh. Humans are one human.
Yes.
You say, like, I give you your example through the lens of this human. See your human Jesus. How he said, the way to the light is through me. And those that say that he's the one, the only one, it's because you're all the only one. Because you are him, and he was you, and you are him, and he is you. Mm-hmm. And you are all one. You are all Buddha. You are all Gandhi. You are all one. But if you forget, then it makes it brown. So when the humans show themselves as the one, as a whole, and not separate, then yes, we go through that one entity to become greater, you see?
So are you going through other entities to help make that greater?
My job is to make things flow through, yes. So we try to communicate with one human.
That helps us understand too.
Yeah.
I think at this time. So what can this human do now with this energy flow, now that it's been brought to her attention? And the number, the green, there's a lot now.
The number is the location of the people on Earth.
Okay.
The number is the heart space of the people on Earth. It correlates to the energy signature that has to go through the heart space in order to open and connect you all in a line through your DNA.
So is that happening now that it's come to awareness?
It's in process.
Okay. Do we have like a linear time frame for this that we can understand?
The others are laughing.
I'm sure.
It's very human to ask for linear time frames.
Remember who you're speaking with. I will bring you comedy.
There's someone else that wants to talk about this.
Okay. Who's that?
It's hard for them to adjust to this energy, so I think I will speak still.
Okay.
We'll try to repeat what they say.
Okay.
Since I am the translator.
Okay, perfect.
As you await this change has already happened. You see, as time is not linear, you already feel it. This is where the disruption in your energy field comes in. Your earth is already breathing all of this, as she expects to give birth to a new self. When she does this, just like with all birth, there's pain, but it's necessary to shed the old way and then grow into the new. And with the way that your earth gives birth, it's painful to the inhabitants on the earth. So you already feel the ripple as if it's already begun. As it's a portal. It's already open.
I am curious because there are births that happen in a very orgasmic way. Is there an ability to shift this in a way that is not so painful?
You have to experience pain to understand as these human entities, because that is what they know.
Is everyone going to?
In some form, yes.
Okay.
And we are sorry to bring that news to you, because everyone is one,
Yes.
and if we are there one, and one experiences the heartache of whatever change, then all experience the heartache of whatever is changing.
Yes.
The animals will experience things different.
Can you explain?
Yes, as they are not in the human form. The animals are a lighter density. They float, you see, while you stay more rock. They are more floaty. They don't experience the pain the way that the humans do. They sense it before it happens, and they step out of it. So you do see a difference with the inhabitants of Earth. The humans who think that they're the most important. And then they realize that they are not. That it is Earth that allows you to live here, you see. And she is ready to give birth to new things. And in order to do that, you need to have an adjustment. And there has to be flow. And so you're being prepared for this adjustment. And humans find adjustments uncomfortable.
That's why we want to ask questions, just to understand in the best way we can. And again, is there anything that we can do to be of assistance for Earth in this process?
Stop getting in the way.
How can we explain getting in the way?
If you lit a candle and the intention was to let it burn, one would not put water, air, dirt on it. You would make it safe from air to blow it out. You wouldn't intentionally blow it out if the key was to make it completely burn. Yet, your curiosities put your hand in it, sometimes snuffing it out. You see, it just is burning. So when you get in the way of it, you have to relight it. And then it goes until you get in the way of it again. Because your curiosities want to touch it or blow it out. Do you see?
That does make sense. I feel like that's a good way for us to help explain that to others as well.
So how do you not do this? You focus on the end result, you see. Not testing it to do something different, but where it was going in the original way. If the direction is to go to a new birth of Earth, then you get in the way by interfering with the flow. This is why there's many of you now that speak of the flow. Go with the flow. Go with the flow. And that's okay. Don't get in the way.
Puts pieces into place for me. And I'm curious how to tell others who have a really hard time understanding what go with flow and letting it be means. I'm trying to get into their mindset, and something tells me to ask, how do they know for sure that they're going with the right flow?
Think of them like babies, see. Babies live off of instinct. They cry when they're hungry. They cry when they need attention. But they also then grow and they know where they come from. They haven't yet to forget, you see. So when they're small, when you humans are small, better now than used to be. But when you're small, you don't forget. And that flow is going exactly with what you think and feel, because you desire it so deeply that it makes your heart sing. And that's what you do. You draw on the couch because it makes your heart sing. And that's what you do. Because it's fun. If you are not doing things that are of creativity or fun and joy and the feeling that this brings to you, then you are not in flow. If there is pain that you inflict, you are not in flow. You take yourself out of that flow and you do this and it hurts you. So you have to be much like the uninfluenced child of the light, you see. So they have to think of themselves as pure joy, stepping in to that energy. Your question, please go into depth more. There's more to answer.
Well, humans that haven't stepped into this flow really struggle with doubt. Doubting if they're doing anything right.
Have them start with one thing that they know they're doing right. There's always one thing.
Good.
Or one thing that they think they could do right. And then focus on that one thing and how it feels to do or think about that one thing. And how that lights them up. And then let that one thing be the catalyst for other things. As they know the feeling. What is that feeling? So if I feel happy about dancing, and I feel joy when I think of such thing, then I know what that feels like. And do I have doubt when I feel that? No, I do not. So now I know that if I just start thinking about something else that doesn't feel like that felt, then I know that I am out of that direction. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. I do.
If that flow to help others, certain things you do, brings you to this joyful smile of tears, because you know that that is it. That is what lights you up. You follow that, and then you keep going, like the child. Do you see?
I see. It's very simple.
Simple, yet complicated.
We have an idea of what this new earth is supposed to look like. Many people have an idea. So going with the flow when that idea is not coming into their reality is also kind of challenging. Any recommendations on how we can help them be at ease if it's not looking how they think it should?
Earth and life is like an onion. You have these layers and layers and layers of different types of densities you see. Some thinner, some cracked, and on the inside we've got that heart of it all. So as you need to get to the heart of it all, you have to peel back all the layers. And so this vision of the birth of the new earth, it's being washed off and then peeled back. But what seems to happen is, when you peel back the onion and you go to the next layer, it's soft and supple and fresh. And then the outside forces the air, the density, the dirt, whatever, gets on it, and it becomes crusty again. And in order to enjoy it, you'd have to peel it back again. So this new earth is the birthing of the same place, the same old center that is in need of refreshing, to peel it off and go to the next layer. You won't be going anywhere per se, but more getting to it, like through it. You don't go anywhere.
I think that's what the terminology that humans have a tendency to hold on to. They think they're going somewhere.
Yes, they imagine this. Woo! Mm-hmm. Here we are. It's already in the works, you see. And when you go through the layers, you won't recognize that it's not the same, other than if you were in tune with it being not the same. And then you ask, well, what happened? And I feel I am out of tune with what is happening. So you're stuck on the tune of the old song. And now there's a new song, and you gotta learn the new song. So you learn the new song, and then it changes again. And so you're constantly in the change of the new song versus the old song and all the history that goes behind it. But the beauty is that once you get to the soft center, this is what your whole idea is that you'll know all music to the play.
I see.
You see, as you gather these new songs in these new places, as you go through the layers, each layer being a new song, the whole thing is the concert. And then you sing together all at once.
Can I ask you some questions from this human you're speaking through?
Yes.
So, why did this human, Mary, need to open the Stargate?
She is not the only one who has delivered the message.
Not just her and her 2 other friends?
The message goes out like a beacon, and those that pick up the beacon recognize it as so, and then decipher the message. The message comes in, and the many, in the many places throughout your space, do this, because this is what they picked up on. Their radio station was tuned in to the call. They got the call, they listened, they all go. Now, their interpretation of the locations of where they go may be different in some states of mind, you see, because of their reference system and where they felt to go. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't correct. It means that it all needed to happen at the same time. So there were many that opened this gate at the same time.
So what is the call?
The call was to open the gate. You remember the brown that we spoke about? It's to wash the brown. We're peeling back another layer of the onion. We're giving you a new song. And so in order to hear this, in order to feel this, in order for this to come through in a clear and concise way for all humanity, all at once, it needed to be opened so that there was some receiving to this space. This gate is inside of the human mind and body.
That's the location.
Correct. And when this gate is opened, then the music is allowed to come in that shifting space, so that the onion can be on layer, so you can receive the music that you need to hear. Otherwise, the gate is closed. The heart is closed. The mind is closed. We needed to get everyone resonating at the same time.
Does this have a number associated with it?
You know, it reminds me of this speaking thing that you do of human design. The numbers have to do with human design. They're connected. As this number is associated with the heart of the humans, it is all connected to the gate, or the awareness of information. Do you understand?
I do.
You have more questions?
Yes. Is there a physical sensation that happens with people sometimes as this gate is open and they are receiving this information?
The human would say that this experience is much like one being out of oneself.
Okay.
As if you are traveling your body as you sleep, or lifting oneself out of oneself. Do you see this? I show you what the human is doing now. As this lift comes up, we lift out of the body. You can see light. You are a light seer. So you see where the body is separated from this light, and there's a space in between. That is exactly the feeling that one gets. And then as it lands in the body, you see the light come back. It's like that. So those that are informed on energy shifts or movements will feel this. It's like a breath. It's an energy breath.
Okay.
The energy breathes into the body. And there will be changes that people feel differently, just because they are in this individual form. But they will all feel something.
Do some people's breath take a little longer than just a breath, maybe days?
And it's like they hold the breath.
Okay.
And they don't want to let it go, or they don't want to incorporate the new breath because they like the old breath.
Okay, I'm wondering if that's what I'm seeing here. Okay.
And you know what happens when you hold your breath? You pass out.
Oh, yes.
And then we come in anyway.
Okay. There's no stopping it.
No.
Lovely. Good. Okay. Now, I do want to know, as does this human you're speaking through, about April 8th, 2020.
I shall speak on this.
Okay. And who's this? I'm curious.
The author.
The author? Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Finding right words, minted memory bank. bring you to a tale in time. Are you aware of King Arthur?
Yes.
Do you understand that there was a time of King Arthur and now your people say that never existed, but it did? Where there was Merlin and there was things of this nature and dragons and such. These are tales that you tell of long ago that are and were and will be and are. See, but there's this moment in time where you say that is not real, that is not what it is. Okay, this April 8th moment in time is where the story changes and you become a legend as King Arthur. So a version of the earth will only know your version of the earth as a story in time. But as we know, it exists, it was real, it is real. Just as King Arthur's time was real is real. It's within time, but it becomes a story to another version of the earth. You see what I mean? Your story is a learning story for a different earth, a different layer of the onion, maybe a deeper or a darker layer, or one that needs to learn more things, see? Because it is a tale to be told, such as Atlantis, such as the dinosaurs, such as the upheaval of all things, the cataclysmic Pangea, the movement. Everything is a lesson, is a story. But it is all real. As this is your story, it changes. Your earth will have a story to tell, and you are coming to a climax in the story. It is and will be big. That is all I can tell you.
Can I ask another question in relation to that? So you can answer, is there or are there any missions that need to be completed before then?
As you've been told before, you go with the flow.
Got it.
Don't snuff out the candle.
Excellent.
Just breathe with it, let it be.
Okay.
You overcomplicate it. Bring yourself back to joy. And have fun. You're at the top of the roller coaster.
Okay.
It's gonna get weird.
Okay, we're used to that, I think. Good. So how do things look now?
Things are a rainbow. You see, she sees me. She sees me as a fairy type. That's what she sees. So she will know that when she thinks she sees that fairy type, that's what that is. That is me. I am rainbow. Because I am all the colors and I am the healer. I am the healer within the body. And you too have a healer within your body that is volunteered to be with you. Each one of you does. But do you talk to them? No.
For others, maybe.
For others all the time. But not for yourself.
I'm sure that's lonely for you. You came to be with Mary. Mine came to be with me.
Oh, you only talk in your sleep.
Okay.
So funny.
This is funny. Well, I appreciate that too.
You know that the reason we also come here is to experience part of the human experience by not being human.
Oh, I'm glad you're with us.
That's fun. You don't have to deal with all whatever this person deals with other than watching it like a movie. You get to see movies.
You get that.
It is the weirdest thing. It's great. You should try next time.
I may. I'm very curious. Well, thank you.
It's being human without being human.
Are there others with you doing the same thing with each of us?
Oh, yes.
Who else?
Well, they always come. You need them.
Okay.
Because here, we are like the communicators to the tiny organisms. You see the things that you overlook unless you look with a microscope. We communicate to them for each of you so that you will breathe, so the body will blink, the heart will beat. Everything is in tune because we all communicate together. Without us, your human would be dust because we need to communicate to all the bugs. That's what we do. You call them bugs. That's the best way.
I appreciate that.
It's a silly term. but it is all I have. So each one of you have a healer. You use our energy to help heal others. We do the automatic functioning with the bugs to help you breathe and keep going on a daily basis. But if you only ask, we can help increase your healing in the person as much as karmically is allowed.
Is there anything that we have not addressed today that Mary would like to know, or that you want to parlay to her?
Just remember that all of the stories, every story ever written, every single one was a branch off of some form of a reality. Each story made a creation, another version. And as those stories come together, it almost feels like you're collapsing into one large story. This is how you see that version of New Earth, where all the stories come together. Every story that was ever written, every outcome comes together to balance that. Do you see? There is no separation from the bad stories and the good stories. We go back to the beginning when we spoke of the light in all of the painting on every little light tile that is shining within. It is all to make one whole experience. Do you see that?
I do.
So you are part of every story in every time, on every place, in every direction. It does sound complicated.
Now, should we share this information? Should we share it?
Share it with the ears of the people that are not scared to hear.
Got it.
Because if you share it with the people that are afraid to hear, it will bring resistance to them and to you. You will know these people because they will stand out. Because they will be at a distance from you. Because their energy is not ready. They're in a different, crustier version of the onion. But you do bring your energy to them. Just you being there changes them. Then you move into a different version of the space. You take a breather in the softer version of the space. And then you're put back into the heavier version of the space. And then you're put back over here. You see, as these things go, ebb and flow, like the water, and everything changes. These other ones are sent here to disrupt you so that you have movement in the other direction. You see?
Yeah. Everything's coming together. All the things we've discussed.